One of the secrets of living a happy life is understanding that your growth happens through failure, not the complete avoidance of failure. Now, I do not want you to step directly intentionally into a failure, but I want you to understand, of course, as we all know, those failures are going to come along, those challenges and struggles, they're going to hit us more frequently than what we have here in Proverbs 24:16. And the trick to surviving them is understanding that they are part of the growth process. 24:16, Solomon says, "For a righteous man falls 7 times and rises again, but the wicked stumble in a time of calamity." The righteous, good people, they struggle, they stumble, they have their problems, they have their challenges, and what sets them off is they get back up. They say, "Oh no, I'm not staying down. This is not the end. I'm getting up and I'm moving on forward." That, if I may suggest, is the secret of life. I don't want you to aim so much at absolute perfection. I do want you to aim at it. We'll have to talk about the paradox of that a little bit as we get into the lesson. But really focus on persevering. Not I never fell, but I got back up every time I fell. There's a saying that's popular, fall down 7, get up 8. You get up and you keep going. You cannot fail if you get up and keep going. You only fail when you stop. And thus we see the way forward and we struggle forward. Christianity sort of flips the script. I want us to go over to 2 Corinthians 12:9 for just a quick moment and see that God doesn't expect us to be Superman or Superwoman. That's an idea Satan has planted in our head, and he's messed us up with that kind of thinking. It is not God's expectation. 2 Corinthians 12 and verse 9, greater context here than what we'll read. But Paul said, after he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast about my weakness, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am well content with weakness, with insults, with distress, with persecution, with difficulties for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, I am strong." God doesn't expect you to step into a phone booth, to use an old analogy, and step out with your Superman cape on and be faster than a speeding bullet and all of those things. He knows you're finite. He knows you are only dust. And He does not expect you to have superpowers. But He does expect you to get back up and keep trying. So what life is going to do is it's going to keep exercising your get back up muscle. And if you can just play on that, that's a little witty, I think. But when life knocks you down, say, okay, it's time to get back up. Let's see how the get back up muscle's working. And then we will keep working our get back up muscle, because we know with repetition we'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. And we will reach the day. And some of you have done this in your life. You have reached the day where you look back at some struggles when you were younger, and now you go, that's nothing. I'd gladly trade those struggles I had way back years ago for the ones I'm facing today. If I could swap, I would swap. Unfortunately, life doesn't allow us that option. So I want us to go to James 3:2. I quote it quite often. I would like to pause long enough just to read the entire verse. Mistakes are inevitable. You're going to make them. That is not an insult. That is not a criticism. That is simply a statement of fact. James 3:2 says, "For we all stumble in many ways. If anyone does not stumble in what he says, he's a perfect man, able to bridle the whole body as well." If you'll pause and think about that, your last stumble, likely it included your mouth. Because the mouth is probably the last thing we really learn to master and control. Now, there are other stumbles, of course, but I like the way he wove that in. Fortunately for us, God doesn't play strike one, you're out. Now, we have to finesse that out a little bit. James 2:10 says we keep the whole law and stumble in one point, we're guilty of all. In that sense, you could say, yes, God does play strike one, you're out. But when we bring in repentance, God's willingness to forgive, God does not play, I'm going to reword it a little bit, strike one, you're permanently out. Strike one, you never ever get another chance. Strike one, get off the field, get out of the dugout, get out of the team, you're gone, you're done. God does not play that game. He wants you on the team. And He wants to see you find out how much He put inside of you so that you can see how tough you are. Or maybe I should say it this way, so that you can see what Paul discovered, Philippians 4:13, that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. The potential is there. It is not that we lack potential. Our challenge is that we doubt our potential. And today we face even a bigger struggle because we are on social media. You know, I'm not against social media. I like my social media. But you have to go at it with a clear head. On social media, you usually get everybody's highlight reels. You get their perfect 3 seconds out of a 24-hour day. You don't know that the rest of their life was just the same struggle as yours. And the mistake that we make is to compare our whole entire day, week, month, or year to that one wonderful little highlight struggle. I have a friend that lives in Hawaii, and he put a picture on of him on a golf course in Hawaii. Yes, it was beautiful. Is that his whole life? Absolutely not. And I've known this man since he was quite young, and I know he's had a lot of struggles. But that one moment looked so good. Now let me digress just a little, or maybe repeat. We used to have to say this same thing in connection with television shows. You've heard me say it before. We used to watch the Brady Bunch. And by the end of the Brady Bunch, no matter what went wrong in the series, it all resolved within that 30-minute segment. And it was all beautiful and wonderful. And the challenge then was we would look at our messed up lives because my problems rarely ever, if ever, resolved in 30 seconds or 30 minutes. A lot of them take days, weeks, and months, right? And then we would look at, I Love Lucy, and it always ended happy, or Father Knows Best, and it always ended happy, or Leave It to Beaver, and it always ended happy. And there's nothing wrong with the entertainment, but sometimes we lose our perspective. It's not perfect. Life's hard. You struggle, you fall. Enjoy your entertainment where you get it, assuming it's moral, but don't stay down. And that's exactly what Satan wants you to do. Satan wants you to fall and say, I quit, I give up, I can't. You know the old saying, I can't, never did anything. Whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're correct. That's a hard pill to swallow, but that is the reality of it. We are forged through failure, and we will not quit. We will accept the fact that we grow through the struggle. And that is true in our spiritual journey just as well as any other journey. Mistakes aren't the end of it all. So let me give you another little analogy. Let's say you're going to the gym, and all you can do is bench press the empty bar. And you go, man, that hurts. Yes, but you're going to grow through that struggle, and you're going to understand it. Let's say you want to play ball, you want to be on a team, and so you get on a beginner league, and you go, man, this is hard. I'll never figure this all out. But if you stay with the struggle, eventually you become one of the better players. If you want to learn music, I know Jeff's good on the guitar, but I'll guarantee you the first time he picked up the guitar, he didn't play that fast bluegrass like he'd been doing it for 20 years. He stumbled around and practiced. And I know Jeff and I have talked about it. Even now, when he learns a new song, it takes some time and struggle. But he grows through the struggle. That's what we do. I don't know why it is that we do it this way, because when I talk about basketball or weightlifting or running or painting or music or any other hobby, everybody goes, well, of course, that's just the way it works. And then we step across the line into our spiritual growth, and all of a sudden we lose that clear, wonderful understanding we had. Like, well, I'm not supposed to struggle. I'm a Christian now. I'm supposed to be perfect and do everything right the first time. No, you're not. It's not going to work that way. Let me let you in on a secret. Unless it happens sometime after the age of 67, it ain't ever going to work that way. And those of you who are past 67, I won't call you out, but if you figured out the perfect secret and you never, ever make a mistake anymore, please raise your hand, because I'm going to sit down and give you the pulpit. Nobody going to raise a hand, are they? Because this is what we do. And our mistakes are not the end. Our mistakes are simply saying, dude, that was the wrong direction. You need to change what you're doing. A little bit here, a little bit there. You need to make a little distinction. So we're going to let failure be our teacher. Psalms 119 and verse 71. Psalm 119, while you're turning there. If that wasn't so long, that would have to be a memory passage. There is so much packed into Psalm 119 that I'm like, wow. I know we've read it and we've read it. You come back to it sometimes and go, man, I missed that. That's really good. Let me get to verse 71. It's good for me that I was afflicted. Now pause there. Let's read that one again. It's good for me that I was afflicted. What's our main point? Let failure be your teacher. What did David say? It was good for me that I was afflicted. And why did he say that? That I may learn your statutes. He didn't say, I learn your statutes purely by sitting around in a comfortable Bible class with the AC set exactly where I want it, knowing the preacher's going to stop exactly at such and such time. You can learn some things there. But when you really learn is when you struggle. When we win, we celebrate. And you go ahead and celebrate. I think that's appropriate. But when we lose, we ponder. When we lose, we go, what did I do wrong? What could I have done different? What point did I miss? Where am I off target here? And how can I get better? When we win, we don't tend to go back and look at the game reels over and go, okay, this is the reason I won, and that's the reason I won. And we don't attempt to assess it. That would be a good assessment, incidentally. But when we win, it's time to hit Pizza Hut or wherever you want to go celebrate. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to high-five and woohoo with one another, and that's okay. But when you lose, that's when you really start to learn if you can get your head around it. Now, I know failure doesn't feel good. Don't like it. None of us like it. Somehow we need to learn to embrace it. I was listening to a speaker once, and she said, when I go home to Dad at the end of the school day, he would ask me, what did you fail in today? Isn't that an interesting question? Meet somebody, look at them, and have a pleasant greeting. Go, hey, tell me what you fail at today. Where'd you stumble this week? The idea behind that is we want you to be comfortable with failure and learn from failure, because failure is your teacher. Or if I can put it back in Psalms 119 and verse 71, he said, it was good for me. It is good for me that I was afflicted, that I may learn your statutes. The time of losing is the time to reflect. Now again, we don't like the house of mourning. That's Ecclesiastes 7:4 if you want to look there. Where we usually read this when it's in a funeral home setting about going to the house of mourning versus to the house of joy. Verse 4 says, the mind of the wise is in the house of mourning. Well, the mind of a fool is in the house of pleasure. Now I want to challenge you to do a little bit of something. Next time you're in a pleasurable situation, pause and ask yourself, am I being a fool? Not all pleasure makes you a fool, but excess pleasure makes you a fool. Now we have to be mindful of that. And so we need to go back to the house of mourning. Those times where we like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And reflect and learn and plan a strategy forward. We want a comeback, but you can't have a comeback without a setback. So everybody wants that big flash, that wonderful, delightful, applaud-filled comeback, but they don't want to have to go through the setback. I don't have an answer for that. There's the only way you can do it. So what I want you to do is really, literally, let failure be your teacher. Look at what happened, and then start asking yourself, what lessons can I learn from this? Now, I'm going to give you a modern assist on this. I want you to be careful with it. I'm going to refer to chat, of course, or you can use the AI, Perplexity, or whoever you like to use. But when you had a failure, when you had a stumble, type it in. Hey, chat, I just did X, Y, Z. Go ahead if you want to put, I really feel foolish or whatever. I don't care exactly how you word it, but be honest. And then say, suggest 10 lessons I could learn from this experience. You know what AI is going to give you? 10 possible lessons you could learn from that experience. And my experience with doing that has been, I'll read through the 10 of them, and most of them I go, yeah, not that good. But if you get one, just one, and you go, ooh, ow, that hurt a little bit, chat. Then chat got home, close to home. Now, what I'm trying to tell you about AI is it's just going to help you think. It is not magic. It is not a genius, but it is a neat little assistant, and basic models are free. If you say to yourself, well, Clarence, this is really good stuff. I like what you're saying, but I don't know how to do it. How do I figure a lesson out of? I just told you how to do it. Now, if you have a close friend that you can be open and honest with and have a good discussion, and they're not real critical, they'll just give you some options. A close friend, the old village wise person used to be that kind of person. But today we're technical. I love it. I like my technology. And now you have an option. Now, one more time, I must give you that warning. Be careful. AI is not perfect. AI hallucinates. You want to use your own sense, but it's as good as opening up a book or going down to the library and checking out a book. It has that kind of value to it. So what God does is He gives us time to transform. He forgave us, not expecting that we would be absolutely 100% flawlessly perfect from the moment of our baptism going forward. He knew way better than that. He forgave us so that we could get on board, get on the narrow road, and start learning the discipline of Christianity. That's what conversion is. Getting off the broad road. Okay, I'm on the narrow road. This is a different terrain over here. How do I do this terrain? I'm going to show you with life experience is essentially what we get. So we get haunted by our past, absolutely. Let me pause and ask. Other than the youngest in here, anybody in here look back and go, I have got no regrets whatsoever. I have never done anything I'm ashamed of. There's nothing in my past I would change if I could go back and change it. I did everything perfectly. Of course not. We all have things we did that we wish we hadn't done, whether it was just some adolescent disobedience and insult to our parents, and we broke a parent's heart. And looking back, we go, man, I wish I hadn't said that to mom or dad. Or maybe it was something more. We all have it. Paul had it. Remember what Paul called himself? He said, I am the chief of sinners. You think Paul ever looked back and said, man, I'm glad I helped the rest of those Christians and get them put in jail and beat and whooped and, killed? He didn't. When those thoughts came to mind, he thought, man, how could I have been so dumb? But the thing is, did Paul keep repeating his past? No, he didn't. He came to his moment of awakening. He had the opportunity to make a change. He said, I got to change. And he changed. God forgave him so that he could grow and walk the straight and narrow road. Philippians 3:12, he says, I press on. And that's what you keep doing. You keep pressing on. You never arrive. You don't hit the finish line this side of the tombstone. So forgiveness, it's not the finish line, which is a mistake some people make. We often make it. How many times have we got someone into the waters of baptism, brought them up, and thought, wow, we're done? No, we just got started. Forgiveness is the line of resuming, not the line of setting down and quitting. And so Romans 12 would tell us to present our bodies a living sacrifice. And in verse 2 would tell us to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. The thing that Paul doesn't elaborate on is that the renewing of your mind takes time. Those old patterns that you had in your brain that were anchored in there from your earliest days, I'm talking your pre-verbal days, you started making your decisions about what the world was like, whether it was good or bad, happy or sad, friendly or challenging or whatever. Do you know you started making those before you could say mama or daddy? And you kept forming those ideas when you started toddling around in your diaper. That's how early you form those things. And until you challenge them and say, no, that was a bad idea, it's time to change. And it takes a while to work that pattern out. It takes persistence to work the old patterns out. But fortunately, God gives us time. He gives us on average 70 to 80 years. Our modern medicine, we know many people are getting more than 70 to 80 years. We all know multiple people who have made it into their 90s now. God's good. He gives us time. Don't let failure define you. It is not your defining thing. Satan wants to beat you down and make you think you are your failure. When you fail, you don't say, I am a failure. When you fail, you say, I experienced a failure. I didn't do that right, but I will do it right next time. And if I don't get it right the next time, I'll get it right the time after that. If I have to do it 200 times, I'll do it 200 times till I get it right, till I get it ingrained. But I will not stay down. I will not quit. I will keep going. Think of the father of the prodigal son. Now, there's some failure there. No idea how much money you want to speculate. We would say the kid blew, but he blew a lot of money. Now, what did he blow it on? Bars and cheap women. Pretty simple, isn't it? And he came out of a pig pen. How many of you have ever been around a pig pen and enjoyed that wonderful farm aroma? Right. I have an idea he didn't stop by the local YMCA and take a shower and clean up before he ran home to Daddy. And yet, when you read the story, and you can turn to Luke 15 if you want, or make a note of it, it says his dad saw him coming from afar off. And who's the dad represent? God. Ran and fell on him. Now, I have to be honest with you. My inclination would be get within about 5 or 10 feet and go, whew, we cleaned you up. As we clean you up, we're going to hug. No, his dad wasn't that way. He didn't let the failure of his son define his son. That was still his son. That was still his offspring. That was still his boy. And he wanted him home, and he was glad. That's the idea. Now, it's a little hard when you're the one in sin to get that loving mentality, but it's there. So how do you define yourself? You define yourself by your mistakes? Or you define yourself by Genesis 1:27? Where he said, you are created in the image of God? Do you define yourself by John 3:16? For God so loved the world, that's me, that's you, that's all of us, that he gave his only begotten son. How do you define yourself? And I'm not asking you for the definition you would give in a Bible class or discussion over coffee in general. Really what I'm asking you is in that most secret place of your heart, that place you would never ever let anybody else look. How do you define yourself there? That's the place where it really counts. So 1 Peter 5:7 would say, cast all your cares upon him. And that's what we're going to do. We have some struggles. It hurts. It's hard. But Peter's saying, I want you to trust God. I want you to know you can trust God because he is the father of the prodigal. And what he wants is you home, not you cast out. And it's hard to get through our head. I almost say it as clear as I know how. No matter what sins you are guilty of in your past, God, your Heavenly Father, wants you home. In the story. He wants to forgive you. Put that robe on you and a ring on your finger and celebrate your return. That's his whole aim. So how do you define yourself? I want you to be redefined. 2 Corinthians 5:17. It says, who's ever in Christ is a new creation. That's it. We're new creations. We're in the transforming process a little bit because even though we have put Christ on in baptism, that wasn't the stop, that was the start. And now we're growing. We began as babes who needed the sincere milk of the Word, and our goal is to eat meat and to keep moving up and to be more and more mature. So I want you to look at perseverance versus flawless perfection, and this is where we're going to have to work this out a little bit. Let's do these two verses, Hebrews 10 and 36. We read, for you have need of endurance, so that when you've done the will of God, you may receive what was promised. I really want you to focus on you have need of endurance. And then if you would, chapter 12 and verse 1. Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily ensnares us, entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before you. If you set your standard that I've got to be perfect, you've just disqualified the apostles. Which of the apostles were sinless perfection? When did Peter reach sinless perfection, for our example? And he's the one we have the most information about in this regard. Well, I don't think he ever reached it. Personally, I think he kept growing and maturing. But I do know in Galatians chapter 2, Paul calls him out on the carpet, so to speak, for playing the hypocrite. And even Barnabas was carried away with his hypocrisy. Wait a minute, I thought they were apostles and leading men of the church. They were perfect. They were flawless. No. And you'll never meet that kind of person. Not this side of the tombstone. That reminds me of a meme I saw, so we're going to chase a rabbit just for about 30 seconds, if you allow me. The meme said on Facebook something along the lines of, you're expecting the approval of a world that crucified a perfect man? Let that soak in for a second. Whose approval are you seeking? I want all the world, I want thousands and millions of likes on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel or whatever. Oh, wait a minute. Those are the same people that crucified Christ and would crucify him today, and I'm trying to get their approval? Something's not adding up there, is it, brethren? The memes really pack a punch sometime. We'll leave that one behind for right now. So don't be chasing perfection. I want you to chase endurance. Let's read this over here in Philippians 3:14. We'll back up to verse 12 too, the one we kind of skipped over a moment ago. Philippians 3:12. Paul said, not that I have already obtained or am already perfect. Now, pause. He's already in his 60s probably at this time, early 60s. But I press on so that I may lay hold of that for which I was also laid hold of Christ Jesus. Verse 14, I press toward to go for the prize, the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. I want you to look at endurance. James 1:12 talks about endurance. And endurance believes that God is going to keep forgiving me. And we have an advocate in Christ, 1 John 2:1. So I want you to find joy in the paradox. And this is, we aim at perfection. Please aim at perfection. But you're not going to hit it. And I want you to find joy in that. And now that we're in a church building and we're talking with our Bibles in our laps and it's all spiritual, it's like, I don't get it. I'll keep it short because I've explained it hundreds of times. If you're an athlete and you're on the basketball court, every time you put the ball in the air toward the hoop, what are you aiming at, Archer? 2 points, maybe 3, right? When you're doing whatever you do, football, what are you aiming at? Crossing the goal line, right? Completing the play, making the score. When you're in the deer woods and you put the rifle on the deer, they just laugh at me. But anyway, what are you aiming for? Meat on the table, right? You're looking for a perfect score. How often do you get a perfect score? Okay, I have one perfect score, and it's because I cheated. I went archery hunting one time, killed one deer, and I tease Mark and say, I'm done. I got a 100% record. I'm not going to mess it up. Now, that's cheating, of course, but this is the way life works. You've got to just find your joy in the paradox. I can't score every point when I play on the court. Okay, now we get that. Step across the line. Now we're in the church building. We're in a Bible study. I'm not going to score every point over here either. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try. So use your failure to help others. I'm running out of time, so let's run this one rather quickly. This is where Christ told Peter he was going to deny him 3 times, but when you came back, support, encourage your brethren. I want you to take your failures and use them to help other people. Don't kick somebody else to the curb and go, well, you messed up, strike 1, you're out, or strike 3, or whatever, you're out. We forgive 7 times 70, so why are we even trying to keep score? Don't kick people to the curb. Let God use broken people, and we are the broken people He's going to use, so we're going to take our comfort that we receive in our stress from God, and then we're going to pass it on. That's what Paul was talking about there in 1 Corinthians. And we're going to use our tool, failure as a tool. I want you to be shrewd as you can be. The sons of this age are shrewd, Christ said. Now, we on the other side in righteousness need to be just as shrewd. Finally, you have to cross the finish line. You've got to be started, you've got to be persistent, and you've got to finish whatever you start. Luke 14 is about the guy who starts a project and then doesn't have the money to finish it, and people laugh at him. Don't be that guy. You started. I may stumble. Now, some people may run the race and stumble 400 times. Somebody else may run the race, and we're talking about a long marathon, they may stumble 600, 800, 900 times. God's not counting how many times you stumbled. He's counting whether or not you crossed the finish line. Did you get back up? Did you keep going? And if you got back up, confessed your trespasses, and kept going, that's a victory. Now we have another paradox. Which one's the better runner? The one that only had 400 victories, or the one that had 900 or 1,000 victories and got back up again and again and again? We'll have to talk about that one over coffee sometime. Beginnings are really exciting. Absolutely love beginnings. And endings can be kind of exciting. It's that long, boring stretch in the middle. So after your baptism, there's a lot of hugging going on, and that is appropriate. And for the next Sunday or two, you might get a couple of hugs. But for those of us who've been in the game a long, long time, when was the last time somebody came up to you and hugged you because you were baptized back in 1982? And then when you die, we're going to say a whole lot of nice things about you. I'll go ahead and let you know we will, but you won't really be there, will you? And so that's going to be good. But there's all these long, boring, stretched out years in the middle. It's tough. And you just got to keep going. Galatians 6:9 says, don't lose heart. I'm kind of paraphrasing that a little bit wrong. Let me turn over there. You're going to reap if you don't faint. Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we will reap if we do not grow weary. So you just keep looking forward. Paul said there's a crown laid up for me. And that's the way it works. There's a crown laid up. So, stay the course. Understand you're forged through your failures. You may like it, you may not like it, but that's the way it works. Sure, you've sinned. Sure, you're not perfect. That's kind of a duh. Get over it. And in fact, that's what the next one says. Get over it. Get up and get going. And keep running the race. Final part. You're still in the race. You're still being refined. You still have new experiences coming. Question is, you have your head up? Are you up? Are you looking forward to them? If you are, stay the course. If you've fallen out of the race, hadn't got started into the race, need to get back in the race, that's one of the reasons we're here, is to help encourage one another while together we stand and sing.